Great morning, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. And while you guys are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and share. Let me turn on my do not disturb. All right. I know it takes a minute for you guys to catch up. All right. So, this morning, okay, I had to reset because things were happening and I couldn't see any of them. Okay, all right. Great morning, you guys. I couldn't see any of this, so let me go back. Hey, Antoine, how are you? Hey, Mardan. Hey, baby. Great morning. Hey, Christina. Hey, Stacy. Hey, Paula. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you, Mardan, for sharing. Now, listen, my plan this morning was to get up and finish Your Assignment God's Way, Part 3. I couldn't because I've got to give this April prophetic word. But what God did tell me was do the class, do the class. So I'm going to do the class. I'm going to, hey, Tasha, hey, Jackie, hey, April. I'm going to do the class. Tomorrow I'll release the link for the class. And it's going to be a 2.5 hour class where we go through all of this information. Now, if you were on here for part 1 and part 2, you know that the information was fire. Angel number 111111. You know the information was fire. You guys listen, to get the rest of it, you're going to have to do the class. It's just too much, right? Look, when God does stuff like this, I'll be like, what in the world? So tomorrow I'll release the information for the class. The class will only be $50, but what you're going to get out of it is going to be absolutely amazing and incredible. But this word for April can't wait. Why? Because it's already March 30th. Tomorrow's the 31st. And I want to get you this word before we step into April so that you can already have some anticipation and some understanding of what's happening, because things are happening and things are happening quickly. Okay. So this is the word for April. Your shift is in your shift. Your shift is in your shift. Let me put this in the comments, you guys. Your shift is in your shift. Let me make sure I turn this down. Okay. Your shift is in your shift. Thank you for sharing, April. Hey, Daddy. Great morning. I love you too. Hey, Corey. Good to see you. All right, you guys. Your shift is in your shift. Your shift is in your shift. Okay, so what does that mean, Dr. V? Listen, I need y'all to understand this and not be confused by it, because there will be things that happen, conflicts that come, things that are stirred up. Great morning, Summerlin. Things that are stirred up that you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to understand what's going on. Everything was just fine. Then all of a sudden, bam, something changed, right? Look, there's some things that have to be shaken up in order for God to do what it is that he desires to do in your life. Your shift is in your shift. Now, this is the key, and I need y'all to get this. Hey, Catherine, how are you, gorgeous? Listen, this is the catch. This is the catch. When God says that your shift is in your shift, it's in your ability to shift that you're going to find the shift that you need for destiny. It's in your ability to shift that you're going to find the shift that you need for destiny. Hey, Shamika, how you doing, boo? Hey, Corey said, hey, Dad. Now listen, what does that mean? It means that there's some things that you got to shift. Now look, y'all, I don't know why God is doing this like this, but this is what he's doing, right? For some of you, the shift, my God. Okay, God. Okay. Okay, God. I hear you. Okay. Great morning, April. How are you, gorgeous? For some of you, you got to shift your perspective. Hold on. Let me tell y'all something. Oh, goodness, y'all. I got a little spasm in my back. Hold on. When it comes to shifting your perspective, I need you to understand how powerful simply a shift in perspective becomes, right? So I was talking to some women, right? And they were talking about these men whistling at them. They were like, and they were just whistling at me, and it was just so disrespectful. And my response was, I mean, you could just look at it as, hey, I must be looking good. Okay. So what God did with me when it came to stuff like that was he shifted my perspective. You know, when something like that happens, when a man says, you fine as, or they say something, I don't get offended by it. And let me tell you why I don't get offended by it. Because what God showed me was I gave you beauty that people might notice. How people respond to what they notice is on them. How you respond to their response is on you. How people respond to your beauty and what they notice is on them, but how you respond to their response is on you. So if you respond to the response in a negative way, it's going to lead to a negative interaction, which is going to spiral. Why go through all that? Listen, thank you. Keep it moving. Go on about my business. This is the next thing, right? This is the next thing. All kinds of people are attracted to me. All kinds, right? Male, female, listen, gay, straight, different religions, nationalities, and ages. I'm not saying this to say that I'm just the bomb diggity. I'm not saying that, although I am. I'm not saying that for that. I'm saying that because it's a matter of perspective, right? See, what God put inside of me, what he deposited in me is going to draw all mankind, all human beings. Listen, it's going to draw everybody. So if it's going to draw everybody, why am I mad? Because people are responding to something that God put in me that was designed to draw them. That's foolishness. Angel number 133. So what I had to do was understand that it wasn't to be offensive. It wasn't because I looked a certain way. It wasn't that I looked like I was going. It wasn't that. It was that God put something in me to draw all people to me. So if he put something in me to draw all people to me, I don't need to be freaking out because all people are drawn to me. Listen, I understand who I am and how he created me. And because he created me the way he created me, it can be a lot. Okay? It can be a lot, but it has purpose. What is the purpose? God said, listen, I made you beautiful so that men might be drawn to you so that you can speak life into them. I said, okay, but every man that is drawn to me and sees my beauty and that I speak life into, it's not for me to be in a relationship with. That's the part that I struggled with, right? I struggled with separating that. It took me a while to understand that God could place men in my life who were drawn to me, that I may even be drawn to them, but they weren't in my life for that. They were in my life for me to speak life to them. See, you got to shift your perspective on things. When you shift your perspective, you'll get a shift. So now there are things that people may say or do that bother other people that don't bother me. It doesn't bother me. Why? I shifted my perspective. I just shifted my perspective. This morning, I did the what's your life quote, your life motto, right? And this is what came up. It said, I don't even think I shared this all the way. Anyway, it said, hold on. Let me get to it because haters only hate things they can't have and the people they can't be. It's just a little thing called jealousy. Listen, if haters hate the things that they can't have, and the people that they can't be, that means that they see something good in you. Y'all focusing on the hate. Really, their hateration is affirmation to your greatness and what God has put inside of you. Shifting perspective. You're like, oh, everybody always hating on me. Listen, you need to tell the haters, thank you. Thank you. Listen, how simple thank you will do. You got to shift your perspective. You got to shift your perspective. I know this. This is what I know for sure and for certain. This is what I know for sure and for certain. When you shift your perspective, your response will also shift. There are things that don't bother me now that bothered me before. So when something bothers me, I got to figure out why does that bother me and get to the root of why it bothers me. Okay? So I'm not normally a jealous person. Like, I'm not I ain't gotta have you all up under me all the time. You know, if someone is attracted to you, that don't offend me. Like, I'm not that chick. I'm not that woman that gotta have my man all locked up under me. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. So if someone finds my man attractive, that don't bother me, right? It doesn't bother me. So if something in a situation bothers me, then I have to figure out what about that bothers me, because I'm not normally moved by that stuff, right? So if something bothers me, I have to figure out why it bothers me. Normally, it's something deeper than just someone is attracted to, or he dated someone, or so it's something deeper than that. There's something deeper that's connected to something that is a trigger for me. Something deeper that's connected to something that's a trigger for me, and I got to figure out what that is, right? Why? You don't want to live your life in bondage. Let me tell y'all about bondage, right? Anything that causes you fear, anxiety, stress, strife, all of those negative emotions, you become in bondage to those emotions, right? You become in bondage to those emotions. Those emotions affect how you see things. It affects your perspective. It affects your responses. It affects your behavior. I never want to move out of fear, right? Fear of loss, fear of success, fear of failure. Anytime fear is governing our actions and our thoughts, we're going to move incorrectly or off or without good intentions or in the wrong spirit. You can do the right thing in the wrong spirit and still get a wrong result. Do you understand what I'm telling you? In order to get a right result, you have to do the right thing in the right spirit to get a right result. Okay? So we have to shift our perspective. If our perspective is working against us, we got to shift it. So there are things where I know I got to look at me. What is it about this that bothers me? Because it's always rooted in something else. It's never about a woman. It's never about a woman. It's never about another person. It's always about something in you that's triggered by that situation, that circumstance. It's always about something deeper, right? It's about something that you think that it's saying. Something that you think it's saying about you, about the other person, about your situation, about whatever it is. It's in your mind, it's saying something, right? So when you get to the point where you can figure out what is it that it's saying to you that's triggering you, then you can deal with it from the root. You know what our problem is? We some surface behind people. We surface, we real surface. We keep things surface because we don't want to deal with the truth. We don't want to deal with the deeper things. We want to keep it surface because surface keeps you from being vulnerable. But if you stay surface, you'll end up looking foolish. Do you understand what I'm telling you? In order to go where God is taking us, we've got to be able to deal with the deep things. The deep things. The deep things, the deeply rooted things, the things that you don't even want to address. You got to deal with that stuff. Otherwise, you will not have the depth required for the place that God is taking you. You want to get to destiny, but you want to keep it surface, it ain't going to work. So you got to allow yourself to get deep. Angel number 144. Deep in you. You got to get deep in you. You got to be willing. And everything. Listen, this is why people get New Age confused, right? All right. So they think everything is new age when you say that it goes back to you, right? Because no, everything goes back to God. Okay, I don't know what Bible y'all reading. I don't know what Bible y'all reading, or I don't know if it's that you're caught up in the semantics of a thing, right? But do you not understand that when Jesus said these words, when you see me, you see the Father. When you see the Father, you see me. If you can't see me, you can't see the Father. If you can't see you, you can't see the Father. Why? Because the Father is in you. So if you won't look at you, you won't be able to see God. But if you can look at you and find God in you, it will override the stuff that has happened to you. When you make the focus a God that exists outside of you, outside of your being, you're looking for the answer outside when the whole time the answer was inside. Now, this is what we've done. This is what religion has done. It has got us to the point where we're looking for the answer outside of us instead of inside of us. What's stopping you? What's blocking you? What's drawing a certain type of people to you over and over again? Certain situations over and over again. You need to look in you. You don't need to look outside of you. You need to look in you. If people are treating you a certain way and people keep treating you a certain way, you don't need to look at them. You need to look at you. What is it in you that is producing that? Because it's something in you. It's something in you. The answer is in you. Now listen, do not get it twisted. I am not saying that you don't need God, but you need to know that God resides in you so that you can understand that when the word of God is speaking, when the word of God is speaking, when God's word is going forth, listen, the God in you can connect with that word and change can be created, but you can't change because you think that the answer is outside of you when the answer is inside of you. Just like you think the problem is outside of you, but the problem is you. You are the problem. You, it's in you. But you want to make it in everything and everybody else. Listen, I had to learn that when I saw the same things happening over and over again, that the problem wasn't the place or the people, the problem was me. And I had to examine what in me was showing up that was creating certain situations. The answer was in me. So when I began to resolve that, I can change what's going on in my life. What's happening in your life right now in this moment is a direct result of choices that you've made in the past. You want to change your life, change you. You can't control people, change you. Actively, determinedly, persistently, and consistently change you. Dig deep enough to find out what is the lie, the thought that comes along with your emotion or your response, angel number 155, in situations. But y'all know why we struggle with that? We haven't had to do it. Angel number 166. We haven't had to do it. People have not required that of us. People have required us, allowed us to stay surface, and it's okay. No. This is why I know I'm not for everybody. Because, I'm going to ask why. Where does that come from? What is that rooted in? I'm not just asking you. I ask me. Do y'all understand what I'm telling you? I'm not telling you all anything, angel number 166, that I don't require of me. I got to ask me the same questions that I'm asking you. Because it does no good for one person to dig deep and the other person to stay on the surface. It's going to create some conflict, right? But even that is not a bad thing. This is why we got to shift our perspective. Hey, brother, how are you? Yes, Antoine. Yes. Summerlin says, shifting my perspective within my expectations. I'm getting it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, Stacy. So check this out. Check this out. I want y'all to catch this now. This is all the key to really maximizing what's going to happen in April, right? April is that the shift is in your shift. The shift is in your shift. You want things to shift, you shift. If you want things to shift, you have to shift. First thing, your perspective. So check this out. When we shift our perspective on things, okay, relationally, then we can shift our result. And even if the other person does not change or doesn't change immediately, you shifting your perspective, not taking it personally, understand, like you got to shift your perspective. When you shift your perspective and you do what God is telling you to do, what they do ain't your business. You're not responsible for it. What they do is their business and they're responsible for it and they have to answer for it and they have to deal with that. But you can't, listen, you can't tit for tat. You can't be petty. You can't. Now look, I say this all the time. I just want y'all to know that when I'm telling you these things, God is speaking through me because some stuff I wouldn't even want to say, okay? I'm talking to me too, all right? So we got to shift our perspective because check this out. Check this out. Hold on. Let me get to it. Hold on. I'm trying to make it bigger. Why it won't get bigger? Okay. All right. We got to shift our perspective. And when we shift our perspective, it'll shift our response. Okay? Listen, not only do you have to shift your perspective, and you got to shift your perspective before you can shift your response. Because if you shift your response without shifting your perspective, your response won't stay. Listen to me. Our response to things, to situations, to what people say, to what people do, to the things that we encounter in our life has to shift. Listen, our response has to shift. Why? If your response is not netting you the result you desire, change your response. So I'm going to tell y'all a little story about me. Okay. Y'all know I always use me because I ain't finna get mad at me for talking about me. Okay. So angel number 166. I used to, every time my phone would ding or ring, I would respond. Every time. If my phone dinged, I had to look at it. If my phone rang, I had to answer it, right? I mean, it was bad. It was so bad that I literally had my phone in my hand all the time. I was always on the phone. I was always talking. I was always on the phone. Always on the phone, right? So my response to the ding was pick it up and look at it. My response to the ring was to say hello. Listen, let me tell you what God told me. He said, look, you got to stop allowing your phone and other people's dings and rings you got to stop letting it dictate your life. So I put my phone on silent. First, I used to have it on vibrate, right? And then the vibration, the fact that it vibrated would cause me to pick it up. I put my phone on silent. Now, did I put my phone on silent because I don't want to talk to people, or because I didn't want to be available? No. I didn't want other people's desire for my availability to dictate my response. I had to, because listen, this is what, y'all, listen. 98% of the time, anything that is if somebody call you, if somebody text you, if somebody email you, if you get a notification of a like, a comment, whatever. Okay, 98% of the time, 98% of the time, it is not imperative that you respond to it at that moment. 98% of the time. 2% of the time, it's an absolute emergency. You need to be available. Okay? But 98% of the time, it's not. Right? So, what I did was I put my phone on silent. My ex-husband used to say, why do you even have, first of all, my phone will go dead because it will not be plugged up. At least it used to. I try to keep it charged now. But every now and then, one of my devices will die. Okay? But I try to keep them charged. I'm trying to be a little better about it. But God had to disconnect the phone from my hand. The phone used to always be in my hand. Phone would always be in my hand to my ear. I'm on my phone all of the time. I need y'all to understand all of the time, right? Everybody's calling me. Like I'm always getting, listen to me. I need y'all to understand this. God said, put it on silent because the voice of the phone, the sound of the phone was getting bigger than the sound of God's voice in my ear. So my response to a ding or a ring was quicker than my response to the one who made me. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. When the phone can get us to move quicker than God's voice can, something's wrong with that. The phone had become my God, and I had to cut it off. I had to silence it because it had become my God. Everybody called me. I'm talking about everybody called me. I was always getting phone calls. I had to turn my ringer off. And now, listen, I'll check my phone periodically, but I refuse to allow my phone to dictate my life. I can't do it because I can't hear God if I'm too busy being worried about my phone. My phone ain't dictating me. So my husband has a ringtone, right? And the ringtone is like the antithesis of my reaction to the phone, right? So his ringtone says, hey, your phone is ringing. Pick up the phone. You know you want to pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. I don't want to pick up the phone. And if I want to pick up the phone, I'll pick up the phone. But you're not going to tell me that I got to pick my phone up. Okay. But that's his ringtone. He likes that. Okay. So for me, nah. Couldn't be me. It just couldn't be me. See, this is another thing. See, we got to shift our perspective. We got to shift our response. Okay? Got to shift your response. Look, your response can't be driven by fear. Your response can't be driven by emotion. Your response can't be driven by you being super logical. You got to get a God response. You got to get a God. We got to get a God response. What is a God response? What would Jesus do? Listen, I'm convinced that most of us, if we were around Jesus, he would be telling you, you hypocrites, you brood of vipers, oh ye of little faith. Like he would be saying that all the time. You faithless generation. He would be saying that, oh ye of great doubt and little faith. He would be saying that stuff all the time because that's how we move. We move from a place of lack. Our responses are based on fear. We listen, fear, inadequacy, all of this negative stuff, none of which comes from God, all of which comes from the enemy. So we've got the response of the enemy down pat, and we don't even know what the response of God looks like. What does a God response look like? We don't know because we ain't used to doing that. So we got to shift our response. Shift our response. We got to shift our perspective. We got to shift our response. Baby, then listen to me. And all of this ties in. This is the next thing. We have to not only shift our perspective and shift our response, we got to shift our words. People think words don't matter. Words matter. Words matter. Listen, Let me give you an example. My son said something to me one day. He said, Mama, I don't know how to take you because you good with your words, right? And my response would normally be, no, I'm not. Like, because what he was insinuating was, I'm good with my words, so I'm using my words to somehow negatively affect him. That's what he was saying. But that wasn't what I was doing. He was insinuating that I was using my words to manipulate him. That wasn't what I was doing, right? But that's what he thought it was, right? So normally I would say, no, I'm not. I am good with my words. I'm very good with my words. I'm very good with my words. I'm able to articulate what I'm saying. I'm able to say it in multiple ways. You know, not only am I able to say what I'm saying, but I'm able to say what you're saying, right? And there was a time when I would deny that because of what was being implied by it, instead of accepting that I am good with my words. And I'm so good with my words that I could, if I chose to, manipulate masses. I could. God has got me in a place where I don't desire to do that. That's not my desire. So even though it's not my desire, people are afraid that I'm going to do it because I could do it because I'm that good with my words. So even when I'm not doing it, they're trying to figure out, am I doing it? Listen to me. Listen to me. I stopped saying I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not good because I am. I'm good with my words, unapologetically. I'm good with my words. I know words. I have a vocabulary. I don't say things to make other people feel dumb. There are people who will use words to make you feel dumb, to make you feel stupid. I'm not good with my words to make you feel less than. I'm not good with my words to make you feel like, oh, she's just doctoring. That's not why I'm good. I'm good with my words because God has gifted me with the gift of language. I'm gifted to speak. I'm gifted to articulate. I'm gifted to use God's word and to speak God's word. I'm gifted in that way. It's a gift from God, and I will not apologize for it. I'm not apologizing for it. I will not. I'm not anymore. Not to say that I didn't. I used to, because it made people feel uncomfortable. Let me tell y'all something. Because I want y'all to get this real deep in your spirits. The only way people can make you feel some type of way is if you already feel some type of way about yourself. No man or woman can make you feel like you're not desired unless you already feel undesirable. Check this out. No man or woman and what they say can change your perspective on you unless what they're saying is resonating with something that you already believe about yourself. If you already believe that about yourself, those words will trigger the belief that you already have, and it will activate it, and it will be agitated, and you'll feel away. Look, let me tell y'all this. There was a time when people could say something negative about me, about how I look. And I would really, it would negatively affect me because growing up, I wasn't that chick. Like, I wasn't the chick that all the guys picked. I wasn't the girl that everybody wanted. I wasn't that person. I wasn't. So I would often allow the words of others to trigger what I already believed, which was I wasn't good enough. No one can make you feel a way that you don't already feel inside of you. They can't. Similarly, likewise, no one can change how you feel about you with what they say to you or about you in the positive. Angel number 177. I can tell you all day long that you're beautiful, but if you don't believe you're beautiful, no matter how many times I tell you, you still are not going to believe it. If you haven't come to that resolution within yourself, if you haven't had that revelation for yourself, listen, if you don't, okay, you have to know. My son, Adam, okay? My son, Adam, you can't tell Adam he ain't fine. You can't tell him he ain't the ish. You can't do it. And if you do, he gonna say, you a hater. You just hate. You can't shake that about him. That thing is deeply rooted in him. And normally, listen to me, normally, those things are deeply rooted in childhood, just like insecurities are deeply rooted in childhood. So you've got to understand that if you have insecurities, those insecurities didn't just show up. They've been there since your childhood. What you've got to do is go back to your childhood and figure out what triggered your insecurities. Normally, it has something to do with our parenting and how we were parented, our experiences as children. Listen, if we dig deep enough in our childhood experiences, we'll find the thing that led us to be who we have become. We've got to shift our words. We got to shift our words. So instead of saying what you don't want, declare what you do want. Leave what you don't want alone. If you're focused on what you don't want, you're going to draw what you don't want into your life. Why? Your words have the power to create situations, create scenarios, create responses, listen, feelings and emotions, create thoughts. Your words have the ability to do that. So when you say what you don't want, you're putting it into the, okay. God said, let there be light, and there was light. The universe had to respond to his words. Similarly, likewise, in the same manner, the universe responds to our words. It doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what you say out your mouth. And I'm not saying what you think doesn't matter, because what you think affects what you say. But listen to me. You can think a thing and not say that thing, and it will have less of an impact. Not that it won't have any impact, but it'll have less of an impact than your words. When you let things come out your mouth. When you speak things out your mouth, you speak them into existence in the same way that God said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there be. You might as well say. Whatever you say, I don't want da 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 da. You might as well say, let there be that. Because that's what you just did. You got to shift your words. Shift what you say out your mouth. Pay attention to what's coming out your mouth, because it does matter. Pay attention to what you say and how you say it. That's the next thing. You got to shift your tone. You got to shift your tone. Anybody tells you the tone doesn't matter is not being honest with you. You got to shift your tone. Anybody that tells you tone doesn't matter, they need to talk to a musician. Tone matters. Tone matters. Okay, so let me do this. Hold on. Because I want you all to get this. And I've been doing a lot of teaching lately, y'all. So even though this is the prophetic word, there's teaching that comes with it. Okay. All right. Oh my goodness. Come on back. Tone. Okay. The definition. A musical or vocal sound with reference to its pitch, quality, and strength. Okay. A musical or vocal sound with reference to its pitch, quality, and strength. Second definition. The general character or attitude of a place, piece of writing, situation, right? Listen, the tone in which you say things matters, right? The strength that you say it in matters, okay? The way that you say it matters. Your pitch communicates emotion. You see, this is why we confused. We don't understand the relationship between voice, sounds, music, emotions, and frequencies. We think frequency is new age. When people say, I'm trying to vibrate higher, right? Vibrations and frequencies and tone and pitch and all of that's connected. Okay. That's why when we say God is looking for a sound, He's looking for a sound in our worship. He's looking for a sound in our praise. He's looking for a sound. Sound is a vibration. It is a frequency. Numbers have a frequency and a vibration. Words have a frequency and a vibration. That's why you've got to understand what you're putting out into the universe because it produces. You can say the same thing with a different tone and get a different result. If you say, you think you cute, versus you think you cute, it's different. One says you think you cute, but you really not. The other one says you think you cute and I'm here for it. You better do your thing, right? The tone of what you said changed. What you said didn't change, but the tone of what your pitch, the quality of your voice, the frequency, the vibration, like that changed. Y'all stop it. We are walking around in deception because we've allowed the enemy to deceive us by taking the things that God has created and using them the way that he wants to use them, perverting them and causing us to abandon them. Bam. So now you ain't got the key. You ain't got the key. I don't care that you can recite the whole Bible. That don't move me, nor does it move the enemy. The enemy ain't moved by you reciting the Bible. It is not what you say. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Okay? So, for example, I'm sure that when Jesus was being tempted by Satan, and he said, turn those stones into bread. You're hungry, turn it. And he said, man does not live by bread. I know Jesus wasn't saying, man does not live by bread. No, he said that with some, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. He said it with some strength. He had it with said it with some force. He said it with conviction, right? He's like, why are you trying me? Tone matters, y'all. You got to shift your tone. If you want peace, speak in a peaceful tone. Guess what's not a peaceful tone? You raising your voice. You getting all loud. If you want peace, create peace. That's why the word of God says that a soft answer turneth away wrath. Somebody can be mad, but if you're talking to them soft, that's going to have to dissipate. That got to come down. But if you match their tone, then it's going to escalate it. Not that I've mastered it. Let me be real clear. Not that I've mastered it. But it doesn't change the fact that it's truth. Because I haven't mastered it doesn't mean that it's not true. I'm much better at it than I used to be, but I haven't mastered it yet. Because sometimes my tone can be off. Real off. Mm-hmm. You got to understand that the shift is in your shift. Okay? The shift is in your shift. All right? Okay, so check this out. So you got to shift your perspective. You got to, hold on, let me go back up and see if I can go through them. All right. So your shift is in your shift. You got to shift your perspective. You got to shift your response. You got to shift your words. You got to shift your tone. Okay. Shift your behaviors. You got to shift your behaviors. Now, why is shifting your response and shifting your behaviors not the same thing? Shifting your response is shifting how you respond to something that transpires, something that happens, something that's said, something that goes on. That's response. Shifting your behaviors is shifting what you do. Not in response to what someone else does, but period. Shift your behaviors. Shift your behaviors. You can't control anyone else's behaviors, but you can control yours. Shift your behaviors. Shifting your perspective is shifting your mind, right? Shifting your response is shifting how you respond to other people. Shifting your words is what you're allowing to come out of your mouth. Shifting your tone is shifting how it's coming out of your mouth. Shifting your behaviors is shifting what you do. If what you do does not produce the results that you desire, why do you keep doing it? That's insane. Shift your behaviors. Listen, if there is something that has consistently prevented you from having successful relationships, consistently prevented you from having success in your career, consistently prevented you from getting to your place of destiny, consistently interfered with your relationship with God, why not shift the behavior? But let me tell you what we do. We try to shift the behavior before we shift our perspective. And it doesn't last. Shift your perspective and shift the behavior. So let me give you an example. You used to hear me say all the time, because I'm not cleaning. I'm not cleaning. I'm not washing no dishes. I'm not cooking all the time. I'm not doing that. You used to hear me say it all the time. I'm not doing that. I'll pay somebody to do it, but I'm not doing that. Get my hands wet? No, I'm not doing that. Scrub something? No. Clean the toilet? No. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Now, I ain't saying you can't do it, but I'm not doing it. That's what I would say, right? So God has me in a season where all the things that I said I wasn't doing, I'm doing. And when I tried to pay somebody to do it, when I tried to get somebody that's great at doing it to do it, God interrupted it every time. He interrupted it. Nope. You gonna do this. I said, really, God? This what we doing? So either I was going to be doing it with an attitude, or I had to shift my perspective. So this was my perspective shift. Everything that I do in relationship to our home, I'm doing to create the atmosphere that we need in order for us to get to destiny. We can't get to destiny and we don't have order. We can't get to destiny and our environment is in disarray. We can't get to destiny and we can't just do the basic of clean behind ourselves, right? Just keep the atmosphere clear. I need clear. And anytime things start getting cluttered, I'm cluttered. I know I'm cluttered. Angel number 1111. I know I'm cluttered. My mind is cluttered. My spirit is cluttered. My emotions are cluttered. I'm cluttered. If there's clutter all around me, I'm cluttered. Until I can get things organized and clear, I won't be able to see clearly. Okay? So God had to require of me. He didn't do it, but he required of me that I shift my perspective. So instead of my perspective being, I got to do this, right? My perspective became, I'm creating the atmosphere that I desire so that I can get to destiny. So that we can get to destiny. But listen, if we don't get to destiny, we don't get to destiny. I got to make sure I do what I got to do for me to get to destiny. Now, if I do what I got to do for me to get to destiny, hopefully it will inspire him to do what he's got to do so that he can get to destiny, in which case we get to destiny. There's nothing like, and I don't know if y'all have ever experienced this, but you walk into a place and somebody is doing something and then you just naturally start to do it, because we develop habits and patterns, We develop habits and patterns. We develop habits and patterns. So there are some new habits that I'm creating for me. And I can't be mad if he doesn't walk in that habit, because it's not his habit to walk in, it's mine. But I try to create a habit of making sure I do certain things, making sure that certain things happen, making sure that I don't fall into the pattern of doing a bunch of laundry but not folding it up. Or I don't fold it, do it and fold it, and then don't put it up. Okay. So I'm trying to create new behaviors. So I have to shift my behaviors in order to get what I desire. Your environment will become cluttered if you do laundry and you don't fold it. If you do laundry and you don't fold it, or if you do laundry and you fold it and you don't put it up. Listen, your environment will get cluttered. There's no other way around it. It's going to get cluttered. So you have to do what you got to do in order. You got to shift your behaviors, but you can't shift your behaviors and have lasting results if you don't shift your perspective. Have to shift your perspective. You have to. So you got to shift your behaviors, what you do. Shift your behaviors. Shift them. But before you just say, I'm just going to do this, and you just try to do this, but you ain't changed your mind. You got to start with your mind, y'all. We got to deal with our mind. We don't want to deal with our mind. We want to deal with behaviors. We want to make people do certain things. So what they did it if they didn't shift their mind, because that means that that change will not last. It's not going to last. It's not. So it starts with your mind and shifting your perspective. Okay. You got it. So shift your perspective, shift your, what's next, y'all? Perspective, words, tone. Is that 5? Y'all help me now. Y'all supposed to be helping me. Oh, perspective, response, words, tone, behaviors. Okay. All right. Angel number 1111. Okay. So now your shift is in your shift. Okay. Some people will have to shift your location. You may have to shift your location. Not everybody's going to have to shift their location, but some people are going to have to shift. You're going to have to shift your location. Your shift is in your shift. Your shift is in you shifting your location. Your shift is in your shifting your location. For some of you, your shift is in your shifting your location. God is relocating you. Think about this. When God says he's relocating you, he's locating you again. With Abraham had to shift his location to become the father of many nations. Had he not shifted his location by doing what God said, which was, I'm sending you to a place that I'll show you. Not a place that you'll know, but a place that I'll show you. I'm going to show you where I'm sending you. Sometimes we have to shift our location. And if God shifts our location, there's always a reason for that shift. He's trying to shift some other things for you. He's trying to shift some other things for you. So you got to understand that your destiny is connected to your shift, your locational shift, your geographical shift, your move. It's connected to that, right? So if God is shifting your location, shift. But you got to change your perspective about shifting. We don't want to shift our location. Now listen, let me tell y'all something. Shifting from Tampa to Gates, North Carolina, babe, that's something serious. Okay, look, think about this. I'm going from sunny Tampa, Florida, even though we get rain and hurricanes, comes all of that. We get hurricane threat. Listen, I get all that, right? But I loved Tampa. I love Tampa so much that I just had declared that I was not leaving Tampa. If I got married again, he was going to have to live in Tampa. Listen, I wasn't leaving Tampa. When God shifted me to Gates, North Carolina, not only was I in the country, I was in the cold. When I got there, it snowed. The day I got there, it snowed. I'm going from Tampa, Florida to snow. And everything in me said, no, this ain't right. God, what are you doing? But that shift was key to me getting to my destiny. I had to spend time with my daddy. I had to get to know my daddy. My daddy had to pour into me. There was a healing that was required that could only occur in Gates, North Carolina with my daddy. It's the only place it could occur. But it prepared me for my husband. Had I not gone to my daddy, I would not have been prepared for my husband. We wouldn't have made it to the altar. We might not have even been connected. See, you got to understand that when God is shifting your location, there's a reason for that. Sometimes in the place that we're in, someone said my environment is revealing a shift. Yes. Sometimes the place that we're in, there's a certain environment that he's trying to take us out of. If there is an environment that is one of lack, of doubt, of fear, of anxiety, he'll shift. He'll create a shift so that you can get a shift, right? When I left my ex-husband, I had to leave an environment. There was an environment that I was stuck in. I was just stuck. I couldn't go forward. Like things were not prospering the way they should. And I had to shift. When I shifted, there was a shift in my life, right? There was a shift. There was a shift. There was a shift, right? Every shift that I've taken location-wise has resulted in another shift in my life. Every shift that I've made location-wise has resulted in a shift in my life. And so I had to understand that a shift, a geographical shift, a location shift, whether it's in the same city, but a different part of the city, or whether it's from one house to another house, whatever it is, because you know, each shift is a new beginning. You get an opportunity for a new beginning. So my shift to Panama City was my opportunity for a new beginning. So I had the way that I want my home, my life to be. God has given me an opportunity to lay that foundation. There's a part that I play, there's a part that my husband plays. But guess what? Women, this is what we got to understand. We make the home a home. We make the home a home. So that means that we have to create that. See, the Proverbs 31 woman, it wasn't that she didn't have outside endeavors. It wasn't that. It wasn't even that she did everything herself. She didn't. She had servants to help take care of the house. Angel number 1111. She had servants to help take care of the house, to put things in order, but she knew what she wanted her home to feel like. Once you know the feeling that you desire, then you can figure out what you need to do to produce that feeling. Okay? So you have to understand that some people are going to have to shift location. Listen, some of you will shift your employment or business. Some of you in the month of April, you're going to shift your employment. You're going to go from one job to another job, but some of you are going to go from a job to a business. Listen, some of you are going to go from a job to a business. So I tell people all the time, there's a different perspective and a mindset between an employee and an employer, an employee and a boss. So what's the difference? An employee thinks in terms of hours. A boss or an owner thinks in terms of the whole project or job, right? So when people ask me, what do you make per hour? Well, I don't know, because I don't think in terms of the per hour. I think in terms of the job. Why? Because I am someone who is a business owner, right? I understand that my value is not reduced to an hourly rate. My value is in my ability to get it done. If you reduce it to an hourly rate, it's going to seem like it's too much, right? But when I know that the results that you're going to get as a result of what you get from me is going to produce massively in your life, then I can't put an hourly price on that. But what I can do is give you a price for what I'm going to do. It's not about how many hours I do it, right? But that also means that I'm not focused on how many hours I do it. That's not my focus. My focus is on what is it going to take to get this done, not how many hours is it going to take. Okay. So when you understand that, you think differently. You think differently. My husband and I, we were talking about what I do for my classes, my online classes, how many hours I got to teach and all that stuff. And I told him, and he was like, what? Yeah, like that's why I can't get with an hourly rate job, because you're not going to be able to pay me what I'm accustomed to getting paid for what I do and for what I produce. So we've got to understand that while some people are going to go from one job to another, some people are going to shift from employment to ownership. So people are going to shift from employment to ownership. Don't be scared to shift to ownership. Okay? There are benefits to ownership. There are benefits to owning a business. There are benefits. And we get scared because we're like, oh, I don't want to be responsible for all that. Well, then, that's your prerogative. Nothing wrong with that. That's where you at. That's where you at. Okay? Listen, according to your measure of faith. Let it be done to you according to your measure of faith. Right? And some people have the measure of faith for employment. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people have the measure of faith for ownership, because with ownership, you understand that if you don't work, you don't eat, period. Right? Like if you're not getting something done, you're not getting paid. Okay? So you can't just buy the time. All right? So some of you are going to shift your employment. 8, some of you getting ready to have a new beginning. Some of you are getting ready to shift your place of worship. Some of you are getting ready to shift your place of worship. Now listen, I am a firm believer that worship isn't something that is done just in a building, right? So worship is something that we can do all day, every day, wherever we at. Okay. So, but some of you are going to shift your place of worship. Now listen, for me, I'm going to talk about for me, right? For me, I remember when God told me to shut down my physical church. I remember when he told me to do it. I had planned to, and this is how God works with me. He said, this is what I want you to do. So he had me shift from service every Sunday to doing a prophetic service. And I was going to do it, I can't remember if it was twice a month or something once a month, something. The afternoon that I was doing it, he said, after this, shut it down. What? He said, after this, shut it down. It was the day of the event. I was at the venue. I was like getting ready to get started. And he said, after this, shut it down. This is the end of this. What? So what was to be the beginning of a different way of having service ended that season of my life. And so I was out of the physical church for some years. Okay. Then he said, I'm sending you back into the church. What? I don't even want to go back. Right. He sent me back into the church. I served in a ministry. And then he said, now, after, I think it was about 2 years, he said, now I want you to focus on what I have for you to do. Angel number 1111. And I had to leave, right? Your place of worship, and you got to hear God on this. This is where you really got to listen to God. Where you are may have done all that it can do for you. You may have gone as far as you can go there. You may have gotten as much as you can get from that particular ministry, that particular person, like that teaching. You've gotten as much as you need, and now you have to go somewhere else so that you can get another piece. I liken it to this. Certain ministries are known for certain things. In certain ministries, you're going to get this, right? In ministries that focus on prosperity, if you are in a financial struggle, you can go into those ministries many times and learn biblical principles that will allow you to get that part of your life in order. And then you may have to go somewhere else. If you're prophetic, you may have to go into a prophetic ministry so that you can learn how to operate in your gifts. It can be stirred up. And then he may send you somewhere else. Very rarely does a person get everything they need for their entire spiritual life in one place. Very rarely. And even if you do, God is going to move you out so that you can launch out into the deep and fulfill your assignment. We get comfortable in our places of worship. We get comfortable. We know the people. We've always been together. We grew up together. We've always worshiped together. I know them. They know me. We get comfortable. But sometimes you got to shift in order for God to get out of you that which he's trying to draw out of you. Some of you are going to have to shift your place of worship. Listen, Passionate Pursuit of Manifested Purposes Ministries is an predominantly online ministry, right? It's predominantly online, right? I do most of what I do in terms of ministry online. God has been big with me on online and reach and being able to reach people, right? So for him to say, I'm sending you back into the church, like, you got to work with me, God, because what? You've got to do what God tells you to do, even if it doesn't look like what other people think it should look like. You just got to be obedient to God. What that means may vary, because God was also very clear with me that sometimes our model of church has us in church and drained, but we're in church because being in church is easier than being the church. Sometimes being in church is easier than being the church. Sometimes being in the building and doing church is easier than being in the world and being the church. The church is almost like your safe place. It's the place where you're able to follow the rules and the regulations, and you're able to fuel your battery. But listen, that can't be the end. Like, we're to go into the church to receive and go out of the church to give, right? To serve, to be. So some of you are going to be shifting your place of worship. Some of you are going to be shifting your place of worship. That's the next thing that's really gone. Some of you are getting ready to some of you are getting ready to shift your spiritual practices. You're going to shift your spiritual practices. The things that you used to do are not going to be the things that you do. The way that you used to do it is not going to be the way you do it. Listen, I'm not saying that you're going to change, quote unquote, religions, but you're going to get an understanding of the word and understanding of God that stretches you beyond what you have been doing. And it's going to be scary. I'm just going to tell y'all, when God shifts your spiritual practices, it can be scary because it's outside of the norm of what you're accustomed to doing. It's going to look different. People may not understand it. You may not even understand it, but you hear God and you hear God. You got to be obedient to God. This journey is all about obedience. This journey is all about obedience, right? So some of you will be shifting your spiritual practices. There'll be things that God adds into your spiritual practices that you've not done before. How you pray may change. What you do when you pray may change. Listen, I'm telling you, God is going to shift some of your spiritual practices because there's a place that he's taking you in him. There's a place he's taking you in him. And then y'all listen. I know this is a lot, but this is what he's saying. So I just got to be obedient, right? For some of you, you're going to have to shift how you show up. Shift how you show up. Shift how you show up. Listen, going through all of these shifts, right? Going through all these shifts will begin to shift how you show up. The totality of it. Not a single thing, but the totality of how you show up, right? I can remember when God began to shift how I showed up, right? I remember when I was in graduate school, they would tell you certain things and you would learn certain things to do to be seen as knowledgeable, the expert. You're the professor, right? You're the professor, you're the teacher, you're the pastor, you're the this, you're the that. And so you need to show up a certain way, right? And I remember trying to show up like other people showed up. And it didn't work. So God had to shift how I showed up because I had to show up authentically. Instead of showing up the way everybody thought I should show up, or different people thought I should show up, or doing it the way different people thought I should, I had to show up authentically. Some of us show up as a representative we show up as a title, we show up as whatever, but you got to shift how you show up and show up authentically. Authenticity is key. You got to allow God to show you who you are so that you can be that person and show up like you be, not like you do. So shift how you show up. Shift how you show up. At the end of the day, the thing that you've got to understand is you got to show up and you got to shift. Failure to shift is not going to allow you to tap into what God is doing in the month of April. The month of April is dictated by your shift. What you get this month is determined by your shift. If you don't shift, what you getting ain't going to shift. Show up the same way, you're going to get the same thing. Keep doing things the same way, you're going to have the same responses. You don't speak the same words, have the same tone, engage in the same behaviors. You're going to miss it. You're not going to move when he says move. You're not going to do what he says do, or you'll half do it, which is equal to not doing it. It's disobedience. Disobedience is disobedience. The key for the month of April is shift. Your shift is in your shift, and how badly you want your shift will determine what you do. Now, listen, I know for me, a big part of that shifting my perspective came from understanding my saboteurs and how I self-sabotaged, and recognizing it and seeing it and understanding what it's rooted in. When you do things that sabotage you, it's not like you say, oh, I'm going to do this to sabotage myself. No. It's that your behaviors align with a certain pattern that you've had in your life that has prevented you from producing the results you desire. So that's why I'm doing No More Sabotage 6-week supercharge, because not only do you need to know your saboteurs and how to kill them, or how to move from surviving to thriving, you've got to exercise it regularly in order to consistently kill those thoughts, those things, to retrain your mind, create new neural pathways, new ways of thinking, new things that automatically happen. Because we just say, oh, well, that's just how I am. That's just who I am. That's just what I do. It's who you've learned to be. It's not who God created you to be. If it's not in alignment with God's word and God's, I'm going to try to figure out how to say this in a way that doesn't lead people to some other conclusions. It ain't what I'm saying. If it doesn't align with what God says about you, then that's not you. That's a response, a learned response, a response that has developed into a habit, an automatic reaction, an automatic way of showing up, an automatic way of viewing the world. But it's not you. You is that God response. You is God behavior. You are really love, grace, mercy, determination, commitment. You were made in the image and the likeness of God. So then you should show up like God shows up. You got to understand that this thing is bigger than you, and it's going to require you to do some work on you. Afterpay is available. You can register at bit.ly/no more supercharge 1. What I'm going to tell you is you can't afford not to deal with this because you've been doing it and it hasn't worked. What I know is the way I show up is different now. There was a time when I would not do the things that I'm doing now in my home, in my marriage, in my friendships, on my job, in my business, because I have both. I wouldn't. I would be stuck in patterns that were repetitive patterns, repeating patterns that have not yielded the results that I desire, which is destiny. Now I'm destiny driven, and being destiny driven has meant that in order to get to my destiny, I'm willing now to face me, to deal with me, because I'm the only one who can prevent me from getting to the destiny that God has ordained for me. Listen, I'm getting ready to do Destiny Driven. Destiny Driven is going to be an 8-week program. Y'all, I don't know about y'all, but look, this is what I know about me. I be trying to just be obedient, and God be like, no, I want you to do this too. I'll be like, really, God? So he and I were talking about Destiny Driven. And I said, okay, well, I'll do an 8-week program. He said 12. I want to do it and be done. He said 12 weeks. 12 weeks, 90 days. 12 weeks, 90 days. I said, okay. So I'm going to be doing Destiny Driven, a journey to greatness. Destiny Driven, a journey to greatness. Because it is a journey. It's not a singular thing, right? The prereq for it is that you've either done the No More Sabotage 1 and 2, or you've done the No More Sabotage 6 Weeks Supercharge, which will encompass those 2 classes. So listen, if you're interested in Destiny Driven, put Destiny Driven in the comments. It is an interview process. I'm only taking 12 people, 12, 12. 12, 12. Okay? All right. When he said the 12 people, I looked at, anyway, 12 people, 12 weeks, right? But there is an interview process. So put Destiny Driven in the comment, and, I will schedule an interview for you. If you're going to do No More Sabotage Supercharge, right? If you do the 6-week Supercharge, you will also be able to register for Destiny Driven, even if you've not completed it yet, because you're going to be going through that stuff, and we'll be able to piggyback off of it. Now, I need y'all to understand that when the 12 slots are gone, the 12 slots are gone. Like, that's it, period. I'm 12 people, 12 weeks. I'm doing what God said, okay? So just know that. Look, I pray that this word today has blessed you. I pray that you've gotten something out of it. I pray that God has touched you, that he's penetrated your heart. I know this, like the stuff that he gave me for your assignment, God's way, I know that this is destiny stuff. So as he's mapping this out, I'm like, ooh, God, that's good. That's good. If you were watching part 1 and part 2 and you said, ooh, that's good, and you want the rest of it, you need to sign up for Destiny Driven Masterclass, Destiny Driven Masterclass. I'm going to be releasing it tomorrow. It gets released tomorrow because I was just going to come on and do the last part today. And he was like, no, that's not what I want you to do. So that means that he wants us to do some work. So the class is going to be $50, only $50, y'all. And it's going to be packed with information and application. So get ready for that. I'm excited about everything God is doing, and I'm here for the journey. So you guys know this. Know that I love you to life, and life more abundant. Remember, the word for April is your shift. Is in your shift. Let's shift. Be blessed. Mwah.